Hey everybody, welcome to Direct Joy Live. This is number 3 of this series. So thank you so much for joining me at lunchtime on a Tuesday. It's really great to see you, and if you're watching the replay, hello too. So these replays are going to be available on Facebook, Instagram, on IGTV, and also on YouTube. So yeah, keep a lookout for them. Share them with all your friends. It's great to hear from everybody. It's great to see loads of people watching the replay and sharing it with your friends. So thank you everybody for that. I really, really appreciate it. It's yeah, very much my passion to make sure that mental health is on a parity with physical health, because it has such a huge amount of influence on ourselves, on our whole being. And so the more that we talk about mental health, the more that we talk about our emotional being, the more that we can bring love and light to that, the more important it is for our families, for our well-being, for our bodies. And you know, there's such a dark side to mental health, which unfortunately we all probably know someone that's been affected by that, even if it's you personally. And so the more that we can support each other, the more that we can bring this stuff to light. It's wonderful. So yeah, thank you. There is a lot more that you can hear from me if you subscribe to my website, so more about that later. But subscribe and you can get some free exclusive videos and a free e-calendar. So I'm all about the freebies at the moment, so yeah, enjoy that and take from that what you will and what's helpful. So today we are going to be talking about saying no. And also the second thing that's come up is, what's the first therapy session actually like? So let's kick off with saying no. So what is it like to say no? Why don't we say no enough? And yeah, let's explore this a bit. Let's kind of throw this open. So if anyone's got any comments, please add them. I'm pretty sure that I can watch them, see them, so I can respond to them. So yeah, please do let me know if you've got any comments about anything that I'm saying. It's great to see you watching. It's great to hear from you. And so one of the things that I thought was really interesting is that we on average say yes 5 times a day. So if we say yes 5 times a day to different things that are asked of us, that's quite a lot. So if I added 5 extra things to my to-do list every day, 5 extra, that's pretty overwhelming, right? It doesn't seem like many, 5, but actually I'm kind of a bit like, ooh, that's quite a lot. And if you average that out across a week and across a month, that is starting to feel quite uncomfortable to me, right? But we're not saying no. I'm not saying no to those things. Okay, so what is it about saying no that's uncomfortable? What happens when we say no, and what makes us unlikely to do that? A little bit reticent to do that. It brings up some guilt, it brings up some shame, and it's just hard to say no sometimes, isn't it? Even if we haven't thought about it, the kind of default is a yes, isn't it? Wanting to people please, wanting to, from a good place, not from a, the phrase of being a people pleaser, but just, I want to please you, so I want to say yes. I want you to be happy. It's similar to what we talked about last week, that sense of wanting to say yes to people and wanting them to be happy and not necessarily putting me first. And actually, if we don't give that time and thought and space, we tend to say yes before we say no. And there's that saying, isn't there? Make your yes a yes and your no a no. But do we really tune into that when we decide to say yes or no? Are we deciding or are we defaulting? And what impact does that have? So our mind is quite complex. And so if we bring in the idea, making your yes a yes and your no a no, is it that straightforward? Is it that simple? Well, no, my mind instantly says, well, there's this reason and that reason, and I've got this to do at this time, and I've got this on my list, and that to me just goes complex and boom. And so therefore I say, yes, I take it on. Ask a busy person to do something because they're so busy that they can fit another thing in. That's the classic thing, isn't it? Is always ask a busy person because then they know how to do it. They know how to solve it. They're working at super speed anyway. So ask a busy person, they'll fit it in. Wink. But actually, what does your yes feel like? What does your no feel like? Now, it may be possible for you, but there's a sense of, and I've been talking to people across the last week, because this has come up a lot for the people that I speak to, and in so many different areas of life. What does your no feel like? And we all know the no of no. The no that you have to roar, the no that you have to go no. That place of really pushing forward and knowing your no. The barrier, the shield, the powerful no. Stop, no, this is dangerous to me. I cannot allow this in. The firm no, the angry no. Well, what about the sad no? What about the, do you know what, no, I can't allow that. It feels quite dramatic, both of those no's. Whereas what's it like to know your no? To have a no, that doesn't serve me. My voice instantly went softer. No, that's not where I'm at. No. And what's it like to own that no? What does it feel like in your body? Like that angry no. The sad no. Just the no. Just to know your no. Can really do with some attention and some thinking and some love and some fierce compassion for our own no. And not acknowledging the guilt and the shame that comes with that, and taking that to a place to work with that can be really helpful. And that's something you can do in therapy, and you can explore in therapy, and you can explore with like people that you trust as well. And having space to do that is vital. Journaling that out, feeling what it comes up in your dreams, and just everyday life of hearing yourself and catching yourself when you go to the default yes, and actually then, what does that bring up? Does anyone recognise the idea of replaying conversations? When you replay this conversation, it goes, what did they say, and they say, and I said, and that whole dynamic. And what's it like to say no? I know I've said that quite a few times, but just to really embrace that place of your no, knowing your no, what your body does, how you move, how you feel, what it feels like afterwards. Is there a lightness? Is there a freshness? Is there a strength, that embodied strength of this is my no? Having fierce compassion for that is just absolutely vital, because that brings about the balance. And one of the things, I don't know if you've seen the latest film on Netflix called Yes Day. It's one of these family flicks, and it's just absolutely excellent. It's a family that says yes, and people are really catching on to this. So it's where the parents don't say no, they just say yes. But the really and you can do wild, great things that you would ordinarily say to your children, no, that's not what we're going to do. And in the film, it involves lots and lots of ice cream and lots of fun and an interesting car wash journey. So I'd highly recommend this film. But one of the things that really struck for me was that there was still strong no's. There was no's around money. There was no's around travel and location, and there were really strong no's. There were really strong boundaries that the children, the parents, and everyone involved in the film respected. Knowing our no's, knowing our boundaries gives us the ability to really have authority, to really be sovereign within that limited sphere. The meaning of sovereignty being the authority within your limited sphere. How awesome is that, right? So actually knowing your no's gives you the boundaries to be able to say yes. The invitation then is to say yes. In career counselling, we have this thing where you work out what your no's are and you're left with your yes. Okay, how can it be that simple? It's not that simple. Our mind does lots of things. There's lots of complexities. There's lots of challenges. But the basic premise is if you know your no's, you're able to know your yeses. And having that fierce compassion for yourself of knowing what that means, how you hear yourself and how you hear your no's and your yeses, balancing them to the optimal is absolutely vital. But the only way to do that is to stop, is to really recognize, oh, okay, I really want to please that person, and actually they get more yeses out of me. Yeah, one of my sisters has this saying about that. There are no favorites. When you have multiple children, there are no favorites. Oh wait, no, yes, there actually is. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I can have the people that I say yes to more, the people that I trust, the people that are in my limited sphere, the people that are in my sovereignty, the people that I know aren't going to take the mickey, basically, with my yeses. And there are other people where I know I need to know my no's. Now, that doesn't mean they're not in my life. It doesn't mean that I don't love them. It doesn't mean they don't love me. It's just that sometimes we need to know our no's a bit stronger. And that's about a dynamic thing, and that's about a pattern, but it's also about habits as well. So we form these habits. We have these habits in place that, if we do what we've always done until we don't. And when your energy changes around that, everything changes. And that's a quote from someone. I'm going to need to look up who that is because I can't remember. But, when your energy changes, the way you introduce yourself, your energy introduces you before you come into the room. When you know, your energy knows, other people around you know. And you don't get asked, you don't get put in that position. The invitation is not there to take the mickey anymore, because that's the place that you take up. That's the place that you own. That's the place that you're empowered in. That's the place that you have strength, authority, and sovereignty. And we find that the old patterns kind of do have this way of showing up, and it will be in work, it will be in your fears, it will be in your habits. And that's where therapy is helpful, because it can tie in all of the way that you're behaving, all of the ways that you're relating and your behaviors in your relationship with yourself. It thinks about that, and that we're able to explore that in a way that's quite unique and offers your feelings, your emotions, your mental life, the terrain of that, so much time and space that you wouldn't ordinarily get, because ordinarily, can you help me out with that, Shri? Yeah, of course I can. Do you see, it's so easy just to flow into a yes. But actually, what's it like to make your yes a yes and want to say yes, and your no a no, and knowing that that no is where you need to be? And that's what I talk about with that fierce compassion for yourself and for others, in being able to say yes, no, no, yes, whatever it might be. And just knowing that. Intuition is really important in being in touch with your intuition, and that's something we definitely work with in therapy. And you can, we have an intuition, we have that from a very young age, and being in tune with, from forever basically, being in tune with that is just absolutely brilliant. I cannot highly recommend it enough. And we are all in our own ways. We have that gut feeling, we have the urges and the I found myself doing this today and it really suited me, and I found myself wear this colour, or I found myself doing this, or talking to this person at the bus stop. That following of the intuition is just absolutely so special. And, it's interesting if you watch programs like First Dates or Yes to the Dress, or thinking about clothes when you try on clothes, or thinking about with your children, or any kind of decision really, where you just like, yeah, I know, yeah, that's it totally. Like, things like Yes to the Dress and First Dates are kind of classic ones that come to my mind, because it's like, hey, those two, no. And I just know it. And I'm sure you do. That commentary that we have with the television of, no way. Oh, they're so lovely together. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, look at that. That's amazing. And actually, do we bring that to ourselves? That true inner knowing of knowing our own terrain, knowing our smile, knowing that smile, the one that just makes you completely filled up with absolute joy and just bursting. Do we really embrace that? Do we really wake up every morning and go, yes? I saw a like for that. That's cool. What's that like? The inner knowing. So saying no can really get you in touch with your inner knowing, your sovereignty, your authority, and that of joy. I'd love to work with you on that if that's something where you're feeling a bit jaded or you're feeling a bit like, what the hell is a no? Anything. If this is something that you'd like to pursue, I want to pursue it with you, and I'd be honoured to work with you. If this is something that's brought up more questions for you and you want to hear more on direct joy, let me know. DM me, email me, drop me a text, communicate somehow. I'd love to hear from you about any questions you've got. That would be great. So the second question today is about what is a first therapy session like? Okay, so I can only describe first therapy sessions from how I am, this side of the table as the therapist, and also what it's like for me to be in the hot seat, because I'm also really into my own self-development. As part of my training, I was required to be in therapy, and then I chose to stay in therapy, and I do continue to be in therapy because I find it helpful to my self-development. So this is my take on it, and there's loads of different ways of doing therapy. So this is what the world according to Cherie. So the most important thing to set out with is that you click with your therapist. So, it's a nerve-wracking time, okay? Even however many times I've done it, when I start with a first client, I'm nervous, yeah? Person-to-person meeting, it's new, okay? And that's nerve-wracking because you're there for a purpose, you're there for a function, and you hear very little about your therapist. You know very little, which is why on these videos people are like, oh, I really like learning that about you, because actually you don't get a view into the therapist's world. It's about you, and that's the point, really, is that it's a space totally for you, and that can be really nerve-wracking, okay? Because actually, wow, is the spotlight ever on you? Usually we do that turn-taking thing, don't we, where, hi, how are you? Yeah, I'm good, how are you? How's the family? Oh, what's this going like since we spoke last? Turn-taking, okay? Now, that doesn't happen in therapy, okay? There's more room for silence. There's more room for you to speak. There's more room for your feelings. Now, that can be quite intense, yeah? And kind of that's how it's designed to be, because you're there for a purpose. That's the function, is for you to explore, for you to talk about whatever you want to talk about, for you to share your journey of life with someone. And if they're rabbiting on about their stuff, that's not going to happen. But that can mean that dynamic, that therapeutic rapport, takes a while to adjust to. And so therefore, if you meet your therapist and you think, oh, she's a bit weird, or oh no, don't fancy her, don't like the cut of her jib, that's not going to start you in good stead. So it needs to be nerve-wracking, challenging, but you need to genuinely kind of go, yeah, she's all right. She's not mad as a hatter. And that's really important, because the other thing to bear in mind is that any counsellor you see, any therapist that you see, they have colleagues, okay? So none of us work in silo. That's not the way the world works, and we're all part of organisations like the British Association of Counselling and Psychotherapists, the United Kingdom Counselling and Psychotherapy, the British Psychological Society. Oh, there's loads of them, okay? And, there's all these regulations around counselling and psychotherapy, which means we don't work in silo, which means if you don't feel comfortable with me, I can pass you to one of my friends or colleagues. And, that is a really helpful then way of working, because as long as you're honest about it, you can be honest then with your journey and what you need from a therapist. And that's really important, that you kind of speak the same language, and then you can set forward on the right kind of path. And then any challenges that you face can be overcome in a good way, because you click. So, really, really important. Acknowledging the real is also absolutely vital. So actually, where are you at? If you are really low, if you're not sleeping well, if you're not eating well, if anything is happening you need support with, being honest and true about that is really important. So everybody knows what the truth is. Everybody knows where you're at. Now, sometimes that is so hard to share, and it won't necessarily happen in just the first session. Some counsellors do require that to happen, and you will get quite a full-on 90-minute session of an assessment. Some counsellors do a 10-minute session and they'll do a quick fire discovery session, and then there's a form to fill in. I tend to just, however you show up is how you show up, and what we work with is what we work with. And the more that you feel you can be honest about how you're showing up, the more we take from it. So basically it's just about a mutual respect. I respect you, you respect me, and then hopefully you're in a place where you feel comfortable on that solid ground to be able to say, yeah, okay, this is how I'm showing up today, this is how I'm feeling, however dark it may be, whatever you may or may not be doing, not doing, that it's without judgment, that it's without shame, because that isn't the place for that. And talking about that is just really cathartic, and that's where the joy then comes in, is the catharsis and the actual exploring. Okay, well, what does this mean for you, and where do you want to go with it, and what do you want to do with it, and how do you want to heal, and what tools can we use to heal? And, you know, making sure that you put a contract around that, around times, around fees, around days, around how you deal with friends and family, is vital, because, you know, confidentiality is absolutely top of the list. So your sessions are confidential unless you or anyone else are at immediate risk or there's some kind of legal requirement. And if that is the case, that will be discussed with you first. So, and that includes friends and family, even people that might be paying for the session. So it's really important to bear that in mind, that they're your sessions, okay? You even whether you're paying for it or not, it's your sessions, it's what you're committed to, it's your time to show up, it's your time to be shown up for, okay? So your therapist shows up for you, and that's the work. And then you can get down to the challenging stuff, and you can get down to talking about the stuff that you need to share and that you want to make sense of, and that whatever your terrain is to work with the intention of there always being a more hopeful place and a more joyful place and a more peaceful place, a place where there is space for that. Because there isn't ordinarily in all areas of life, be it an incident that's happened, or be it a past situation, a past experience, a trauma, or be it an accumulation of overwhelm and burnout. Wherever you're at, whatever you might be facing, that's where therapy can really help. And hopefully knowing a bit about what the first session will entail, which can be a bit admin-y, will give you just that kind of a little bit of a bolster maybe to say, okay, yeah, I fancy that. And that might not be with me, might be with someone else. But I hope that's helpful. It's great showing up every week. It's great to see everybody. It's great to hear from you. It's great to see that you're watching. And it's fantastic, those of you that are watching the replay, those of you that are in your offices, those of you just generally supporting me. It's just awesome. I am working on I'm buzzing around here, there and everywhere at the moment with work, actually not anywhere, just in this seat, but just generally kind of buzzing around with ideas, and having ideas about where this is going and what I'm doing. So if there's particular things that you want to hear from, particular topics, things that are helpful, please do let me know. Every month I do an exclusive video on my website, which is www.cjoy.co.uk. I'd really like to up the subscribers. I'd really love to see you on YouTube, so please subscribe on YouTube, because you get to see all these videos that I make. You get to see blogs on the website. There's just loads of stuff that, you know, it might not be directly helpful for you, but it may be directly helpful for a friend or family, because, you know, especially at these times, mental health is really kicking people, okay? It's really getting us, and people that wouldn't ordinarily be affected. So just bear that in mind. You know, we all have a mental health, just like we all have a physical health, and just having that support and sharing the love, sharing the knowledge is just really great. So thank you, and I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday on Facebook live, and let's see you before. Take care, and please subscribe.